Liu Sheng's shadow clone surveys his new surroundings in the dark side universe, observing the pulsing, sickly green environment. He remarks on the overwhelming sensation of filth permeating the area. Our guy concludes that the defining characteristic of this dark universe is simply pure disgust. Examining his monstrous form, he notes that this body is approaching level 13 in strength and has grown far too powerful for the azure planet's abyss to contain. Looking up at the twisted sky, Liu Sheng realizes the mysterious dark entity must have intentionally brought him here. He reflects on this being from the dark side universe, which had been diligently feeding and raising his mutated avatar. Liu Sheng recalls that the entity who previously invaded the Heavenly Serpent Galaxy was a level 15 lord, meaning the one currently nurturing his clone is likely at level 14. Having already faced the level 14 Lord of Oblivion, Liu Sheng now has a basic understanding of the immense power these cosmic horrors wield. He feels his initial fear diminish as these dark entities are no longer complete mysteries to him. Controlling the mutated clone has become much more natural, a stark contrast to his early days of constantly fearing the entity would discover his true identity. Liu Sheng deduces that the dark entity wants his avatar to complete its promotion to level 13 within this chaotic world. Unfazed, Liu Sheng decides to attempt the breakthrough directly. He reasons that the clone is merely a disposable pawn, so any progress is a bonus, and he wouldn't care if the body was destroyed during the attempt. He considers the requirements for level 13, questioning what kind of cosmic law a creature born of the dark side universe could possibly comprehend to achieve it. Taking a pragmatic approach, he realizes his immediate priority is to accumulate a massive amount of power and gather enough energy before attempting an advancement. Embracing the brutal nature of his new environment, he declares that endless consumption and slaughter are the absolute rules of this dark realm. Acting on this instinct, the clone sprouts massive tentacles, commanding them to strike outward. The appendages pierce deep into the glowing green landscape, acting as conduits to siphon the surrounding power. The clone revels in the influx of energy as the tentacles rapidly absorb the environment's essence and funnel it directly into his core. Liu Sheng notes with satisfaction that this mutated body is completely indiscriminate and will consume absolutely anything it can grasp. Analyzing the dark side's version of the stellar law, he finds it surprisingly straightforward and decides to mimic the developmental path his main body has already established. Focusing on his structure at a microscopic level, he observes his glowing green mutated cells. Parallel to his main body's immortal cells, he decides to continuously evolve these and dubs them mutated immortal cells. Liu Sheng is shocked to discover that his clone's physical structure is already composed entirely of these specialized mutated cells. He marvels at this growth, realizing the single parasitic cell he originally implanted has aggressively multiplied into 30 million cells, forming a vast sea of energy. He knows the individual strength of a single mutated immortal cell cannot compare to the pure immortal cells of his main body. However, their sheer numbers more than make up for the lack of quality. Liu Sheng finally understands the dark entity's strategy. Instead of advancing the clone to the next evolutionary stage, it had poured all its energy into explosively multiplying the clone's base cell count. Since the clone previously operated on primitive instinct, it couldn't comprehend complex cultivation methods. If he hadn't taken direct control, the mindless avatar would have simply continued stacking cells until it reached a bursting limit before ever refining their quality. With his consciousness now fully in control, Liu Sheng resolves to actively seize the millions of cells and forcefully guide their evolution. Channeling his will, he draws upon the massive energy reserves he just absorbed to begin the process. He initiates a violent refinement process, forcefully compressing the chaotic raw power into a dense sphere of condensed energy. Liu Sheng successfully restructures the foundation of his dark avatar by aggressively devouring energy and forcing a single mutated cell through millions of harsh transformations. He has evolved it into a highly condensed core he calls a demon star. He equates this new power to the fire of divinity produced by his main body's immortal cells. Fitting the sinister nature of this universe, he names the destructive energy the fire of the demon realm. Having perfected the process for a single cell, Liu Sheng systematically compresses these newly formed demon star cells back into his alien body, rapidly scaling the process to thousands. He continuously ignites the remaining mutated cells, condensing their explosive power inward to forge a stronger vessel. Heartless dark purple flames ignite around him, burning fiercely as his power skyrockets. The massive tentacles on his back undergo their own evolution, growing significantly thicker and driven by an even greater hunger. Standing at the epicenter of this fiery storm, his avatar completes its terrifying metamorphosis, evolving into an entity of unspeakable horror. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Star Spirit Flower, Shi Yanchen calmly oversees the ongoing battle as a crew member approaches with news. The subordinate reports that they have identified the enemy level 13 expert. The bandaged assassin is a top-tier wanted criminal in the Heavenly Serpent Galaxy, infamous for terrorizing over 200 star sectors. Thrilled by the prospect of a payout, the crew member adds that simply killing the pirate would yield a bounty equal to half of their voyage's profits, while capturing him alive would be exponentially more lucrative. Processing the intelligence, Shi Yanchen weighs the risks and rewards. She calculates that while executing the pirate would enhance the Chamber of Commerce's reputation, taking him alive would skyrocket their prestige to entirely new heights. Reviewing the assassin's bounty profile, she realizes the immense personal benefit this encounter presents. Securing a high-profile captive would be a flawless achievement, drastically improving her chances of becoming the next head of her family. Confident in their tactical advantage, she notes they have 3 level 13 masters pitted against a single opponent. Coupled with the spaceship's combat support systems, she considers the pirates' live capture an absolute certainty. Having made her decision, Shi Yanchen orders her subordinate to coordinate with the 3 masters and prioritize capturing the pirate alive. The crew member hesitates, questioning how they will power the ship's combat support systems for such a taxing operation. Unfazed by the logistical hurdle, Shi Yanchen decisively commands him to divert the massive energy reserves originally allocated for the ship's spatial jumps. Shi Yanchen firmly resolves to seize this golden opportunity to secure her political future. This is the end of the video. If you would like to watch the next part, please subscribe to our channel. Battle begins with fast, heavy slashes. Explosive energy shakes the ruined city as Vikir fights the giant plant monster. The four-eyed flower fairy guide watches in total shock. From their hiding spot, the surviving students stare at the fight in disbelief. Vikir moves incredibly fast, easily dodging the massive vines thrown at him. The students are confused, struggling to understand the high level of combat. The system identifies the monster as the S-rank Bloodwater Plantain Lily. It is a deep abyss nightmare that floats on blood lakes. It is so dangerous that one seed almost drove humanity to extinction. Staying completely calm, Vikir dodges a deadly vine just inches from his face, tracking every move. The hidden students can't believe he survives, wondering how he dodges every single strike. Earlier in the church, Vikir prepared a large, bloody sack, knowing its contents will be enough for this hunt. Pendant de Crevia notices Vikir's ruthless and calculated approach suits him well. With his preparations done, Vikir inspects the items he took from the students. Vikir sees that most of the students' boxes are deadly mimics, and the safe ones only give minor stat candies. The system identifies a small bone hoe and an oil paper pouch as D-rank artifacts. At first, he thought they were useless. However, as he checks the cheap loot, he looks surprised. He realizes that among the items is something incredibly rare he never expected to find. In his hand is a glowing silver orb. Vikir remembers from past heroes that this is a very rare hidden item. The system calls it a silver candy, which permanently increases the ultra-rare reflex stat by 1 point. Holding the candy, a confident smile appears on Vikir's face. He wonders if he is using all his luck too early, but he is now ready to fight the S-rank monster. Granui watches nervously from the rubble, whispering Vikir's name. In the clearing, Vikir flips backward, perfectly dodging a thick group of vines like an acrobat. The giant plant attacks endlessly, trying to crush him with sweeping tentacles. Vikir quickly backs away, sliding across the floor to dodge a deadly bite from its huge mouth. A fierce smile appears on Vikir's face. Feeling the change, he finally understands why past heroes wanted the rare reflex stat so badly. Even 1 point of reflex completely changes his fighting skills. As he pushes his senses to the limit to dodge the attacks, he feels a huge difference in his body's reactions. The reflex stat lets his body react without thinking. His body now makes fast, automatic decisions, knowing exactly when to step, stop, or dodge before he even notices the danger. Feeling this automatic dodging, Vikir grins. Having this natural combat instinct feels just like cheating in a fight. From the ruined walls, the students watch in awe. They whisper in shock, unable to grasp how Vikir dodges everything. It looks like he can predict the monster's attacks before it moves. Despite his speed, A student tells Arthur that dodging only makes the beast angrier. As the monster snaps its jaws, they wonder how Vikir plans to kill the tough S-rank threat. Seeing a chance, Vikir jumps high above the creature. Coming down, he unleashes powerful slashes with his red aura blade, aiming at the monster's thick body. But the attack just sparks on its tough skin, leaving it unharmed. Realizing his strikes lack piercing power, Vikir's face turns serious. The monster attacks back, forcing Vikir to retreat and slide across the broken stone to dodge. The system shows his level and new titles. Checking his stats, Vikir realizes that cutting the monster's tough skin is impossible right now. Pendant Dekravia speaks up, pointing out a key detail. The artifact notes this beast is very different from the monsters Vikir fought in his past life. The pendant explains that the plant is not a purebred from hell, but a weaker, mixed version. The pure species grows by drinking from blood lakes in the underworld. Because of that, purebreds are much larger and deadlier than this creature. Being trapped in this dry place leaves the beast starving and very thirsty. Dekravia warns Vikir not to drop his guard. Even a starving S-rank monster is still deadly. He realizes the demon's real plan. They didn't put an S-rank monster here to be hunted. It is an impossible hurdle meant to cause despair. Dekravia suggests a new plan. Since he cannot break the armor, he needs to hit its one fatal weakness. That weakness is the soft flesh inside its mouth, but it only shows this spot when opening its jaws to eat. Dekravia asks if Vikir is brave enough to use that small opening. A fearless smile crosses Vikir's face. He replies confidently that using this exact moment is why he gathered supplies in the church earlier. The fairy guide grows angry at Vikir's calm attitude. Confused by his smile, it demands to know why a human acts so arrogant against an S-rank monster. Losing its temper, the fairy orders the monster to eat Vikir completely. The giant beast instantly shoots its tentacles at him. As the tentacles fall toward him, Vikir just looks up with a calm smile, ready to execute his plan. The plant smashes its tentacles into the ground, destroying the stone floor and sending dust and rocks flying. Floating among the falling rocks, Vikir stays calm. He uses his impenetrable sacred ring. The system confirms its storage. Pocket mode is active. Reaching into the storage, Vikir pulls out the bloody sack he prepared earlier. With a strong swing, he throws it high into the air, right at the monster. The fairy guide stares in confusion. Below, the students watch in shock, unable to understand why Vikir throws a bloody bag at an S-rank beast. Blinded by hunger and the smell of blood, the monster opens its huge mouth wide to swallow the sack and the bloody limbs inside. Seeing the falling body parts, the students finally realize that the tearing sounds from the church yesterday were Vikir cutting up hellhounds for bait. While the students shake at Vikir's ruthless planning, he stays focused. With glowing red eyes amid the debris, he sees his real target is finally visible. Deep inside the monster's throat, past its teeth and vines, a giant glowing purple eye is exposed. It is the creature's core and fatal weak point. Realizing the trap, the fairy shrieks in panic. It orders the monster to close its mouth and hide its eye, but the fairy soon realizes it is already too late. Jumping quickly across the moving vines, Vikir launches himself straight at the monster's mouth. Gathering his red energy, he prepares the first Baskerville sword style to strike the weak spot. With a bright red flash, Vikir stabs his aura-coated hand straight into the giant purple eye, hidden in its throat. But as he pushes his energy, he grits his teeth, realizing his aura blade is too short. He quickly assesses the issue. The tower restricts his power, leaving his aura too weak. Because of this, his blade cannot reach the core deep inside the giant eye. Not wanting to lose the chance, Vikir adapts. Using his ring's storage again, he pulls out two swords, the demonic Balmung and the winter sword Owl. Even though dual wielding isn't his specialty, he has no choice. Vikir crosses the twin blades and coats them in his strong red aura. With deadly focus, he unleashes the fourth Baskerville sword style, the Tearing Tooth. A massive red explosion erupts inside the beast's mouth. The force of the dual sword strike completely shatters the monster's purple core into pieces. Dark blood blasts out of the monster's mouth, raining over the courtyard. Hiding behind the debris, the drenched students and the guides stare in total shock at the impossible sight. As the blood rain stops, Vikir stands victorious on the dead beast. The system announces that Level 1 warrior Vikir is the first to hunt the S-rank monster. While the fairy guide cries in disbelief, the system gives out rare rewards for this impossible achievement. This is the end of the video. If you would like to watch the next part, please subscribe to our channel.